The Happy Warrior Podcast. Conservative commentary on the news of the day from a more positive perspective.
Hello and welcome everyone. This is your host, the Happy Warrior, sometimes known as Peter, sometimes known as Pischke, never known as Robert Mehling. Robert can't be here due to top secret reasons that I'm not allowed to disclose, but don't worry, he will be back. And you can hear him at his other regular podcast, the Sioux Empire Podcast, here on the Sioux Empire Podcast Network. I'm sorry I haven't been more forthright with you guys. I know the last time I had a podcast out was the beginning of June. I think it was like June 8th. That's all on me. I had my master's project I had to work on and complete. This is something that's been holding me back for 2 years due to my own issues. So I had said to myself I could do the podcast or I could work on the master's project, but I didn't think I was capable of doing both. So I'm sorry about that, but here I am now, happy to be with all of you. I have some good stuff to talk to you today. We're going to talk about the Queen of Millennials herself, Cortez, who's been making a lot of runs in the news lately. We're also going to be talking about Star Wars Clone Wars. There's some great news there. I have some fun stuff for Doctor Who, and then we'll follow it up, hopefully, by talking about the Supreme Court and other stuff that's in the news. All right. So, I call her the Queen of Millennials because a big shock victory in the 14th Congressional District in New York on the June 26th election of 2018. Longtime Democrat caucus chair Joe Crowley, the House of Representatives, was booted in the Democrat primary by an upstart of 28 years old, born October 13th, 1989, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And I'm sure I mispronounced that as I mispronounce everything. This is a big upset. It almost never happens that an upstart beats the main line in the primary, especially not in a heavily Democrat district like that was. Some people are saying she won it because she's Hispanic, and the district there, the 14th Congressional District, New York, has flipped to be majority Hispanic, and so maybe that's what's pushed her ahead. I don't know. But she did it. She ran a strong campaign. She had some strong Democrat supporters behind her in the wings, and they were able to push her forward. Ocasio-Cortez is a member of the Democrat Socialists of America. She considers herself a true socialist, a true progressive. The title liberal would probably offend her if you told her that, if you called her a liberal. She studied at Boston University. She's my age, 28. She's only younger than me by less than a month. 13, I don't know. Math. So, yeah, her education is, and this is important, we're going to come back to this later. She went to Boston University, and she has a bachelor's degree in economics and a bachelor's degree in international relations. So you would hope that she's really good on economics and she's really good on understanding the world and international relations. Now, why do I bring that up? Well, it's because she has proven herself to be not the most intelligent or smart candidate. That's being almost too nice here. It all kind of started paying attention for me back when she was on the PBS firing line.
Of course, the dynamic there in terms of geopolitics and the war in the Middle East is very different than people expressing their First Amendment right to protest.
Well, yes, but I also think that what people are starting to see, at least in the occupation of Palestine, is just an increasing crisis of humanitarian condition. And that to me is just where I tend to come from on this issue.
You use the term the occupation of Palestine. What did you mean by that?
I think what I meant is like the settlements that are increasing in some of these areas and places where Palestinians are experiencing difficulty in access to their housing and homes.
Do you think you can expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd also just, I am not the expert on geopolitics on this issue.
I'm not the expert at geopolitics. Really? It says here you have a degree from Boston University, International Relations. Yeah, if you could understand that word solid, you're a better man than me. I could not hardly understand a single thing Cortez was saying there. It's important to note that she did say in there that she had no idea about what to do with Israel. The correct answer is, if you're on the left, is you want a two-state solution, unquote. The correct view to have when cameras aren't nearby is that you want Israel to get out of there. Even to the point where they have supporters on the left that are anti-Semitic and court that group. I mean, it gets that bad sometimes. And she came back and said, OMG, guys. Okay, she didn't say that. OMG, guys. What I meant was a two-state solution. Quote, I'm not the expert on geopolitics on this issue. I am a firm believer in finding a two-state solution on this issue, and I'm happy to sit down with leaders on both of these. Unquote. Now, all this, I mean, it definitely shows that she has no idea what she's talking about. I'm not sure if she's ever heard of Palestine or Israel. She knows anything about the history of that conflict. If I ask her to point Israel out on a map, would she be able to do it? Oh, it's painful. I mean, she even said that she had to talk. She had to get, basically, she says, I have to talk to the experts first. Which is kind of saying I have to get permission and someone has to tell me what the right answer is, because I have no idea. I mean, she said, and I think this is a conversation that I'm engaging with activists right now, because this is a huge, especially over this weekend, this is a conversation that I'm sitting down with lots of activists in the moment, on the movement on, and I'm looking forward to engaging in this conversation. Oh. Now, hold on, guys. Hold on, because it gets better. This week, she decided to come out on economics. Let's hear what Cortez has to say about economics, guys. Because I can't wait. Can you wait? I don't think I can wait. I can't hold on. This is so exciting. We're going to hear what Ocasio-Cortez has to teach us about economics in the United States.
I'm not the left versus the right. Right. Now, the economy is going pretty strong, right? There's roughly 4% unemployment, 3.9% unemployment. Do you think that capitalism has failed to deliver for working class Americans, or is no longer the best vehicle for working class Americans?
Well, I think the numbers that you just talked about is part of the problem, right? Because we look at these figures and we say, oh, unemployment is low, everything is fine, right? Well, unemployment is low because everyone has two jobs. Unemployment is low because people are working 60, 70, 80 hours a week and can barely feed their kids. And so I do think that right now, when we have this no-holds-barred, Wild West hyper-capitalism, what that means is profit at any cost. Capitalism has not always existed in the world, and it will not always exist in the world.
Oh, every time I hear that segment, it just gets funnier. Did you guys get that? Because, we look at these figures and we say that, unemployment is low and everything is fine, right? Where unemployment is low because everyone has two jobs. Unemployment is low because people are working 60, 70, 80 hours a week and can barely feed their kids. I'm getting my accent right. So funny. Oh, the lack of intelligence is painful. Remember, guys, she has not only a degree in international relations, she also has a degree in economics. If I was Boston University right now, I would we disavow this person. We were forced to give her those degrees. Oh, man, that's bad. That's painful. Yeah, I love the part hyper-capitalism. That's the hyperdrive of capitalism, right? So there's capitalism, but then there's hyper-capitalism, and then the speed beyond that, that's ludicrous capitalism. That is painful. Profit at any cost. Capitalism has not always existed in the world, and will not always exist in the world. So, She has no idea what she's talking about. It's sad because I just read a story where she previously was at this business conference. It was a chamber of commerce in the area, and she said that taxes were negatively affecting her business. So I'm not totally sure she even believes this stuff, but she definitely likes to speak this millennial socialist line. I mean, I'm reading here that she graduated fourth in her class from Boston University's College of Art and Sciences in 2011. Fourth in her class? What is that? Oh, it's painful. It's painful. But don't worry, guys. Don't worry. She wasn't alone. No one left her hanging. Elizabeth Warren came out. Elizabeth Warren's like,
when people are working at minimum wage jobs that won't support them, or they're working 2, 3, or 4 jobs to try to pay the rent and keep food on the table, then simply saying the unemployment figures have gone down just doesn't get you there.
Oh, now, thank you. Elizabeth Warren is not going to leave her apprentice socialist hanging out in the cold. That was very kind of her. She literally, you ever hear the phrase, double down? That is a literal, actual translation. So Cortez comes out there, unemployment numbers are not good, okay? Because people need, 2 jobs to, feed their families. And you're work, 80 hours a week, And so then Warren's like, no, I can do better. People need, they need 3 or 4 jobs. What is that? What is that, Elizabeth Warren? According to this, is that 160 hours a week? Is there even 160 hours a week in the week? Oh, it's painful. Oh, yeah, no, let me think about this. So 240, so that would be the whole week, yeah. Oh, it's bad. It's bad. Oh, sorry, guys. I probably I got to hyperventilate. Now, I have family members and I have friends that I've known that did have to work 2 jobs, or you could maybe say 3 jobs. It really was 1 mostly full-time job and then 2 part-time jobs. And this guy just did it so he could get the hours for work, and then one of those part-time jobs gave him insurance. But it wasn't 2 full-time jobs. Though I have an uncle of mine, Josh. That's what he loves to do. He loves to be working 80 hours a week. At least he says he doesn't mind. So there are people out there that actually do like to work more than the 40. Now, could they get by on less than that? I don't know. You have to ask them. But I think for the average family, 2 people working 40 hours should cover it, even at a low wage. It's funny that the left has to make these numbers look bad. It is ridiculous, okay? Even under the Obama administration, and we are still using the calculations for unemployment that the Obama administration put in. They did this to make the Bush numbers look bad. I forget what the actual reason was, but basically, yeah, it was it was to hide the fact that Obama's economy sucked. And so we're still under these numbers. That makes Trump's numbers at unemployment way better than President Obama's. And especially in the areas of Hispanic unemployment and Black unemployment, it hasn't been this low in decades. I mean, it's kicking. This economy is kicking. It's hard to fight that. Now, I think the economy is going to go take some major damage, if not have a mini recession or full recession because of the tariffs. Because if you know your history from World War II, Hoover implementing the strength of tariffs, that's what pushed the economy over the edge and started the Great Depression. So tariffs are not a good thing. But if you look at the jobs report from these last couple of months alone, you have to agree that the economy is doing well under President Trump. But see, everything is politics now and always will be politics, so we can't give President Trump a thumbs up. This isn't even walking back saying, well, we're doing this well in the economy because of President Obama, you know. Okay, that's not even the argument they're going with. No, they're going with the hardest argument to win, that low unemployment numbers is a bad thing. That's not a winning argument, guys. Who told you to run with that? Who's in charge here? Fire them. Now, I didn't intend to spend so long on Queen of Millennials, Ocasio-Cortez, but she, I mean, she's the gift that keeps on giving. So she said in an interview on the show Democracy Now! I have no idea where you watch that. I don't know where Democracy Now! Is watched. Is that a PBS program? She said, here's the quote, "We have to occupy all of it. We need to occupy every airport. We need to occupy every border. We need to occupy, every ICE office until those kids are back with their parents. Period." So you got it? Every border, so all the southern border, not the north, I imagine. Every ICE office, we need to take those down. Now, she, of course, didn't mention there that people probably have day jobs, and probably won't be able to, be there all the time. But her biggest flaw is when people ask her this. So, Cortez, what is ICE? Okay, so here's what she said. But, first of all, ICE is not U.S. Customs and Border Protection. When we talk about abolishing ICE, we're talking about ending family detention. We're talking about ending an agency and ending a practice and a structure that is not accountable to the U.S. Department of Justice, that often takes on things that look like a lot like law enforcement activities. So to have an enforcement agency that operates outside the accountability of the Department of Justice, it's no surprise to see the violations of civil and human rights that we're seeing right now. Now, I know that was a lengthy bit, but did you catch where she said that, one, ICE is not accountable to anyone, including it's not accountable to the U.S. Department of Justice? That's a complete and total, well, I won't call it a lie, because I imagine she just doesn't know. That's a big misstep. And I don't think she's even sure about what ICE does. Because ICE is an arm of the DHS. It's an investigative arm. that primarily they go into law enforcement and removal. Sometimes they work on cases of human trafficking and terrorism. I mean, they do actually a lot of good stuff besides just grabbing illegal immigrants as portrayed on TV. I don't know. I think she gave ICE a bad spark. But don't worry. When people took criticism to her, says Cortez, "You're wrong. ICE is part of the executive branch. It is under the DHS." Here's her reply. And this is why I get the voice. This is why I call her the Queen of Millennials. I love this tweet. It's my favorite. It's almost as good as some of the earlier stuff. She says, "If you think the GOP is terrified of my politics now, just wait until they find out about public libraries." That's right. If you think the GOP is terrified of my politics now, just wait until they find out about public libraries. Now, it isn't just me that has noticed that besides being 28, and it may be a good campaigner, she is a rubbish candidate. I mean, she's really bad. She needs training. She obviously seems like someone that's ran for something for the first time, but this isn't for school board. This isn't for city council. This isn't for local dog catcher. This is the big league, and you do not come to run for House of Representatives district without some experience on your belt or someone behind you that can keep you on a leash to guide you through these hurdles so you don't come out looking like an idiot. And apparently she doesn't seem to have this, and it's hurting her. I mean, the person that she upset, Representative Joseph Crowley, even he was super nice about all this. He was just being so supportive, had nothing negative to say about her. It was saying how he supports her and wants to be there and blah, blah, blah. I mean, but that didn't stop her from coming out and attacking him. And, their Democrats are feeling like she's not showing any gratitude. Representative Alcee Hastings of Florida even said that, quote, "Meteors fizz out. What she will learn in this institution that's glacial to begin with, and therefore no matter how far you rise, that's just how far you will ultimately get your comeuppance." So her going out like that and picking fights with people, saying idiotic things, is not helping her at all. And I can show this with one of my favorites, probably only guy that was ever a Democrat currently that I like a lot, that's Joe Lieberman. And Joe Lieberman has come out and he's telling Democrats, do not support her. New York voters, do not vote for her. She is awful. Here's what Lieberman says, and this was in the Wall Street Journal. He says, quote, because the policies Ms. Ocasio-Cortez advocates are so far from the mainstream, her election in November would make it harder for Congress to stop fighting and start fixing problems. Fortunately, Joe Crowley and the voters in this district can prevent this damage. He goes on talking about that. She says she's a proud member of the Democrat Socialists of America, whose platform, like hers, is more socialist than democratic. Her dreams of new federal spending would bankrupt the country or require such great, I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, such great large tax increases, including on the working class. Lieberman is totally right. And if she was trying to cement her lead over Crowley and not make people do a double take and say, man, we need to just vote for Crowley anyways, because sometimes this happens. You think you have it clinched, and then you screw up, and it gets taken right back from you. That's going to happen to her. I mean, there are other people. I have a story here about New York State Assemblyman Dov Hikind, who was chewing her out for her Israel-Palestinian comments, and there are other stories like this, loads. It's just not looking very good for Cortez right now, so we may not see her very longer. However, if she does get elected, she will provide hilarious material for many years to come. And just think, you want her leading the Democrat Party. You want her to be the new face, because I think enough Americans are going to recognize what the bold-faced craziness that her policies and ideas are. That's just going to help push them at least somewhat from progressivism, from socialism, from statism. And I don't think it'll move that people all of a sudden will want to take up copies of Adam Smith and read Hayek. But I think it would help us to stay off that road. And that'd be pretty nice. All right, I have such fantastic news, guys. Here's a bit from a trailer that Disney was showing off at Comicon this week, and I'll just play 30 seconds of it. Maybe you'll recognize the voice.
The name's Rex, but you'll call me Captain or Sir. War does not come with a guarantee. No soldier gets the promise of safety.
My designation is Trooper 27-5555, sir.
We call him Fives. I'm Heavy. This is Echo. I'm Commander Cody, your new boss.
Sir, yes, sir!
Looks like we got ourselves a batch of shinies, Commander. Look around. We're one and the same. Same heart, same blood. Your training is in your blood. My blood's boiling for a fight. So I have any idea which time is our war.
This can't be good. We need to pull back. Get on the portal. If we can draw them out, we can see them. If we can see them, we can hit them.
A war left unfinished until now. Okay, so maybe that was a little more than 30 seconds. I'm so excited about this announcement. Star Wars The Clone Wars is back, baby! Woo! This is such an awesome surprise. I did not expect this. I am a huge Star Wars fan. I loved Star Wars The Clone Wars. Once you get through Season 1, it is one of the top shows, his top storytelling, some of the very best in Star Wars storytelling. I can't say enough good things about Clone Wars. If you have not watched Clone Wars yet, I think it's still on Netflix. Go and watch it. Look up chronology guides so you can watch the episodes in the correct order and just chow down on that because it is so good. I know the animation looks a little cartoony. You got to understand this was made 10 years ago and it was easier to do in that style. But it is amazing. I'm so excited about that. So here's the second neat thing I'm sharing today. I have two versions of this video. Both will be on the link that I'm going to send with the outline for today's episode. You may have heard of this, but I think I'll just play the YouTube video. Not as long as the last one. Enjoy.
Hiya, another crew member? Oh no! I'm not sharing my stage time with any more networks!
Not so fast, space swine. What business do you have with this planet? Let me tell you, these people are protected.
Protected by who? Whom, huh?
By the Doctor.
Who?
Yes,
Doctor Who?
exactly.
What?
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to cut it there. It is awesome. This was David Tennant, and the week before, it was Peter Davison. Both doctors. Peter Davison actually is David Tennant's father-in-law. There's some Doctor Who trivia for you. And they were at what is called the Muppets at O2. It's a Muppet show at O2. Huge thing in London. Sold out tickets. Super awesome! I'm flipping out. I wish I was there and I could have seen it. I love the Muppets, but I breathe and bleed Doctor Who. So please, if you have a time, check out that link. It goes to BBC America. If you want to look it up, Google, look up Doctor Who's Day Roundup, The Doctor Meets the Muppets. It is fantastic. And you should definitely check that out. So, what should we talk about for the third segment? I think we're going to talk about the real-life Scarlett Johansson Black Widow. That's here in South Dakota. Yes, South Dakota has its very own Black Widow. No Captain America, sadly. I am talking about Maria Butina. And she's from Russia. And she's been in the news. Someone else that's roughly my age. Apparently, a lot of millennials are getting into trouble. Maria Butina is a 29-year-old from Siberia. Redhead. She's, her story is interesting. So she is being accused with pretty strong evidence and indicted for spying for the Russian government here in the United States. I don't know of anything that, actual damage she has done, but she was definitely being set up. It's a complex and weird story, but basically she met this guy named Paul Erickson who wasn't big, but he knew all the big players in South Dakota and then a lot of the gun advocacy groups. The NRA big, of course, the biggest. And so he was taking her to meet people in the NRA, to pig people on the right. It's thought that she had a sexual relationship with Erickson and maybe with some others. It's pretty weird. So she went to people and she's told Erickson and others that she was a businesswoman from Siberia who had a furniture store, and she wanted to free up Russia's gun laws. And that was her connection. So they'd invite her to things. She was at the GOP summer camp a couple years ago. She spoke here in Sioux Falls on at least one occasion at a high school here in Sioux Falls. And, she had her spiel about how great America is. And we want freedom here in America. I sound more like Borat than I do Black Widow. But you get the idea. So, in fact, she spoke. That was as recently as 2015 that she spoke. She attended American University, and she was getting her PhD. I don't have here in the story. I read it somewhere else what the PhD was in, but I don't think it's a big necessary part you need to know about her story. Did she have any influence? I don't think so. I don't think it got that far, but I think that was the idea, is we're going to get her established and credentialed and to know all the right people, and so we can activate her to be influential when we want her to. Now, of course, Maria Butina denies all this, and of course the Russian government deny it, though one of the Russian government officials changed his Twitter icon to be her. So they're being naughty, but Russia does this kind of junk all day, every day. I mean, we know for a fact that she talked to top NRA members, she talked to top political people here in South Dakota, but nationally too. For example, she knew Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, and she was at the gold level NRA dinner events, which cost $1 million to get entry to. So you can only guess who, whom, where she got to talk to people, how high up. Did she even get to meet President Trump? I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if she had met many top-level senators and congressmen and staffers at the White House. Now, it's kind of funny because the evidence, to me, that proves that she is a spy and was involved in this affair is buried in most of these stories. You have, in the CNN story I'm looking at, it's almost all the way near the bottom. And it talks about her messaging the Kremlin, an official named Torshin. And here's the emails were, so I'm quoting now the story. The emails were first reported by the New York Times. Torshin encouraged Butina, telling her that October, quote, "This is hard to teach. Patience and cold blood plus faith in yourself and everything will definitely turn out," according to private message cited in court filings. On election night, Butina told Torshin, quote, "I'm going to sleep. It's 3 a.m. here. I am ready for further orders," unquote. A month later, when she put out a message with her holding a gun, Torshin commented that, quote, "You have upstaged Anna Chapman," unquote. Anna Chapman, if you don't remember, and I didn't till I read the story, is a reference to the Russian spy that was apprehended in a sting about 10 years ago. And I remember her getting off the boat and heading to Russia, and how very cocky she looked about the whole affair. Now, I may be bearing the lead here too, but the CNN video on this kind of put in my mind actually how serious this could have been. You want to hear something crazy? Listen to this.
I'm visiting from Russia. My question will be about foreign politics.
That's how close this accused Russian spy got to then-candidate Donald Trump in July 2015 at Freedom Fest in Las Vegas. Her name is Maria Butina.
I believe I would get along very nicely with Putin.
Isn't that crazy? Oh, I mean, the funny thing for me here is that living in Sioux Falls, since this happened in South Dakota, our local paper just cannot get enough of this story. I mean, they tracked the guy down that introduced her, Paul Erickson, and apparently had all these big debts, and it's unknown how much he knew about this whole scheme. We don't know yet if he knew that Butina was working for the Russians or not. It's pretty certain that he had a consensual sexual relationship with her. And, I mean, they even went to the guy's house, and they're clicking the doorbell, and there's like 5 stories a day. I mean, the Argus leader cannot get enough of this story. Oh, it's funny. I find it funny when local papers, they get just the chance to eat up a national story, and they just will not let go. So I'm going to end today talking a little bit about nerd culture, some of the interesting things going on. Good news, weird news, sad news. We will start with, I think we'll talk about Batwoman. So part of the big news that came out this week is that the CW is going to launch a Batwoman series. Yes, there will be a Batman TV series, even though there isn't a Batman series, which will be kind of interesting, I think. I remember back in the day when they tried to do this with Birds of Prey, and it was awful. But that was back in like circa 2003, so who knows. The problem with Batwoman, besides being kind of a very dark color, and a big part of what makes Batwoman interesting, the Kat Kane version, is her art style. She wears this very pale makeup underneath her mask with big bright red lipstick, and it's very dark, and it's very lesbian. And this was, Kat Kane was cool in the lesbian circles before it was cool to be lesbian. And so they're going to do it. CW is not going to shirk. They're going to go SJW all the way, and they're going to do this full front. You know, my mom is a huge CW DC fan, but she's been having a hard time watching some of their shows. Supergirl, the biggest one, because Supergirl has tried to get on this SJW train time and time again, make things political that really didn't need to be political. This is, you know, superheroes shouldn't necessarily be the time to talk politics, or if you talk politics, can you try to have a balanced approach? I think it's fine to have politics and art as long as you don't use straw men, you make real arguments, and you show fair sides of both sides of an issue. And that's not what shows like Supergirl like to do. And I imagine that that's how it's going to be with Batwoman. It says Batwoman revolves around Kate Kane, who, armed with a passion for social justice and flair for speaking her mind, soars onto the streets of Gotham as Batwoman, an out lesbian and highly trained street fighter, primed to snuff out the falling city's criminal resurgence. But don't call her a hero yet. In a city desperate for a savior, Kate must overcome her own demons before embracing the call to be Gotham's symbol of hope. Sounds great, right? I want to watch that. You know, that's what I love about Batman. I love it when Batman gets out the protest sign, you know, starts slinging poop at police cars. I love it. That's the best. Oh my gosh, this is awful. I think they thought they probably could get away with this because Black Lightning treads on social justice-ish topics, but I think, especially in the season 1, the early stuff, they handle it very well. I thought it was very portrayed fair-mindedly, especially from the lead. Now, the daughters I couldn't really care very much for, but the lead actor on Black Lightning does a great job. At Comicon this year, LGBTQXYZ stuff, I think LGBT should be enough. Shouldn't it? I think that covers enough of it, of the spectrum, instead of having to say that mouthful. Anyhow, that kind of stuff was everywhere at Comic-Con this year. It wasn't just Batwoman. GLAAD had its own booth at Comic-Con, and they had their own panel. And I just don't get why people keep wanting to push and push and push social justice commentary into what is basically throwaway media or escapist media. I mean, we even had the president of Marvel Studios promising that we'll get a bunch of LGBT superheroes. Well, I mean, the only problem I have believing that is that they sell these films to China. And would it surprise you that China does not look very kindly on people who are gay or lesbian? So this desire to not hurt the international market so Disney and Marvel and all those other companies can sell their movies, that is why they don't force in lots of LGBTQ characters and storylines, because in the Middle East you won't be able to sell the product. In China, if you do, I mean, it'll be heavily edited and the sales probably will be hurt. So people like Kevin Feige, they will talk the talk, but they will never walk the walk. So that pretty much covers what I wanted to talk with all of you today. Oh, just breaking news. Disney cuts ties with Guardians of the Galaxy director. Oh, that's sad. James Gunn got in trouble for some tweets that came out yesterday. Tweets that made rape jokes and tweets that were pedophilic, or they pushed about pedophilia. James Gunn, if you know anything about him, has always had a twisted sense of humor. He is just a guy that finds weird things funny that you and I just wouldn't. I'm not ready to take his side per se, but as an artist, this is kind of what fuels his great movie making that we see in Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. It's that off-style humor that probably isn't socially appropriate. And so when you take him and you can harness his ability to tell jokes and storytelling, but you have someone in the back, making sure that he doesn't go too crazy. I mean, you can really just harness that powerful energy and make some great movies. So I'm sad to hear that he's no longer involved with Marvel and the Guardians of the Galaxy. He was a big producer on Avengers Infinity War, and it's sad that he'll be gone. I hope that doesn't damage the next installment. This goes back to, just don't have Twitter and don't say stupid things. I probably should have Twitter for Happy Warrior, but I mean, in general, if you want to have a career, just don't put anything funny on Twitter ever, or try to tell a joke, because you never know, in a couple years it might hurt you. Well, that is all, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to Happy Warrior. Thanks for listening to me experiment as I try to put audio clips into the podcast. I'll try to make the next podcast a video podcast if I can, and get Robert Mehling back involved. I thank you for taking your time. Please check me out on Happy Warrior at Facebook. And be sure to contact me, message me as you there. We're setting up a specific email server, and we're setting up a Twitter page, and we're going to get this thing going. We'll go back to having 2 episodes a week. I'm hoping that I can get that ball rolling, get it better at telling these fantastic stories, commentary, and laughing. Thank you so much. God bless you all. God bless you all. God bless the troops. God bless the United States of America. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening. The Happy Warrior Podcast, hosted by Peter Vaughn Pischke, produced by Robert Mehling, a production of the Sioux Empire Podcast Network. Learn more at happy-warrior.net.
A production of the SiouxEmpire.com.